to be fixed. And I don't give a damn if I get fined because that shit cheap. And I am tired of this shit because I've been nice and I've been humble with it, but I am tired.
What happens when unadulterated talent and an incredibly explosive temper collide, only to be ruined by the most influential voice in sports media? Stephen A. Smith delivers the most brutal reality check in WNBA history, and Angel Reese has the most disastrous week yet.
Back a little bit. You can't want to be the villain. You can't pride yourself in being the villain, and then you lose, and all of a sudden you succumb to those emotions.
Prepare yourself for yet another crazy WNBA drama, as this tale has it all: outbursts, furious outbursts on Twitter, and the most brutal takedown you've ever witnessed. Let's start by illustrating the disastrous scenario. The Chicago Sky are experiencing a complete nightmare, not simply a poor season. Despite putting up what her supporters refer to as monster numbers, Angel Reese is seeing her team be destroyed night after night, as they are currently the second worst team in the entire WNBA at 5-13. This is where things start to get interesting, though. Reese's team is disintegrating around her as she works to boost her stats and set personal records. Their last 10 games have seen 7 defeats. This is more than just poor performance. This is a total breakdown. And what do you know? For weeks, the frustration has been mounting, but Reese has been acting in the exact opposite way rather than using it to lead and unite her team. Everyone saw it coming because she has been a walking time bomb. The whole sports world was able to witness the explosion that night in Washington. Imagine this tumultuous scene.
It's not about black and white. It's about that white player and that black player. Why? Because of the history that they had before they came to the WNBA.
This is the last minute of what ought to have been a close game between the Washington Mystics and the Chicago Sky. At 77, the game is deadlocked, and this is the precise time when true leaders take over. Champions are created at this point. However, Angel Reese? She was going to reveal her true self to the world. Shakira Austin of Washington is standing at the free throw line. She loses both shots, which is a huge chance for Chicago. However, Austin scores to put the Mystics ahead 79-77 after grabbing her own rebound. You can see the fear in Reese's eyes as the arena erupts. On the other end, Reese is then fouled. For a brief moment, it appears as though she might truly step up when her team most needs her, as she makes both free throws to seal the deal. The genuine Angel Reese, however, appeared there. Chicago receives another foul call with 30 seconds remaining. Players begin moving to the bench as the team contests it. At that point, a well-respected member of the organization and vice president of basketball operations for Chicago, and Crosby, comes up with a clipboard. Any professional athlete would now take that clipboard, pay attention to the plan, and work to make their team win. Not Angel Reese, though. She had different intentions, oh no. Reese angrily slapped that clipboard out of Crosby's hands in what can only be called the most juvenile outburst in recent sports history. But hold on, things get worse. Any sane individual would have apologized right away. Any responsible adult would have acknowledged their error and made an effort to correct it. However, Angel Reese? She made the decision to douse the flames with petrol. She immediately took to Twitter and doubled back without expressing the slightest regret, posting what will go down in history as one of the most tone-deaf reactions ever. Those were really annoying me, special thanks to, and who didn't let me apologize because she realized it was in the heat of the moment. But that won't happen again since this tweet embodies every flaw in Angel Reese's mindset. Allow me to explain it to you. First of all, she continues to curse the circumstance. Second, by refusing to accept an apology, she is giving the impression that and Crosby, the victim in this case, was doing her a favor. Thirdly, her casual tone and use of crying emojis give the impression that the entire situation is a comedy. There was no apology here. There was no accountability for this. This player chose to make things worse because they were popular for all the wrong reasons. She made a public display of immaturity out of what ought to have been a private moment of maturation. The fact that this wasn't an isolated instance, however, makes the entire scenario even more harmful. This was only the most recent in a string of breakdowns that have characterized Angel Reese's career. She launched into what can only be regarded as an unwarranted tirade against WNBA officials less than 48 hours prior to the clipboard incident. With threats and profanity, she transformed a post-game press conference that was supposed to be about basketball into her own private therapy session. Hold on, I need you to do me a tremendous favor before we witness the complete devastation that Stephen A. Smith brought. Press the like button immediately if you're enjoying this in-depth analysis of one of the most contentious stories in WNBA history. The most harsh reality check you've ever seen is about to be delivered by Stephen A. Smith, and I promise you won't miss it. We're covering all the major sports scandals, and this Angel Reese problem is just getting started, so make sure you're subscribed and have notifications enabled. Let's return to the carnage now. Stephen A. Smith turned the volume up to 11 and then broke the knob off entirely if you thought Angel Reese was loud. He didn't merely react to Reese's outburst. Instead, he completely destroyed her and revealed every single weakness in her reasoning, demeanor, and strategy for playing professional basketball. Stay in your lane was his straightforward but terrible advice. However, how did he convey it? Nuclear. In addition to criticizing Angel Reese, Stephen A. also criticized the culture of jealousy and lack of professionalism that she embodies. He claimed that she had been using every sideline as a tryout for America's next jealous teammate, and he had had enough of it. However, this is when Stephen A. truly got to the point. Reese reminded everyone about Caitlin Clark, the player who was genuinely altering the game, while he was occupied with smashing clipboards and having tantrums on Twitter. And he brought receipts, oh goodness. As if they were weapons of mass destruction, Stephen A. armed himself with statistics. According to Stephen A., Caitlin Clark isn't just a player, she's a walking marketing campaign, a highlight reel, a franchise in trainers. And he was entirely correct. Clark did more than simply alter the rules. She completely revised the WNBA's potential. On average, 1.178 million people watch the WNBA while Caitlin Clark plays. And when doesn't she? It drops to a mere 394,000. That is a total collapse rather than a dip. That threefold decline in viewership highlights how much the league relies on a single player. However, what really infuriated Stephen A. was that players like Angel Reese appeared more intent in hurling fits than recognizing the player who was saving their league on their own. The league was criticized by Stephen A. for allowing Clark to be body-slammed every night, while the referees merely swallowed their whistles. He emphasized that the league allowed her to be the target of elbows, cheap shots, and egregious fouls as if it were part of the entertainment, rather than safeguarding their prized asset. And athletes such as Reese? They appeared more concerned with making a statement than with winning games. They neglected to concentrate on improving themselves since they were so intent on bringing Clark down. The outcome? The league as a whole was affected when Clark eventually had an injury that prevented him from playing in weeks of important games. The cost of tickets decreased. The number of viewers decreased. Sales of merchandise stagnated. Clark had created a bridge between WNBA players and college basketball fans, but it was abruptly shut down for maintenance. What was done by Stephen A.? He shouted, "I told you so," loud enough for the whole nation to hear. He now represents the harsh truth that Angel Reese and her fans are unwilling to acknowledge. This is about more than just one negative incident. This has nothing to do with heat-of-the-moment responses. This has to do with character. When you play professionally, you represent not only yourself but also your league, your team, your organization, and your sport. Not only did Stephen A. Smith criticize her, but he also revealed the terrible weakness in her whole strategy for playing professional basketball. Angel Reese was destroying relationships with her outbursts and tirades on Twitter, while Caitlin Clark was fostering relationships and attracting new fans to the game. What's the most offensive aspect? In all of this, she presents herself as the victim. As if the refs are trying to harm her. As if the media were unfair. As if everyone else is the issue. Get on board or get left behind. As Stephen A. Smith once said, sums it up perfectly. Because with or without you, the Caitlin Clark train is in motion. Not only is Angel Reese not operating that train at the moment, but she is also not aboard it. As everyone else advances without her, she is yelling at the conductor from the platform. There was more to the clipboard episode than a single instance of bad decision-making. It served as the ideal metaphor for Angel Reese's whole style of professional basketball, which was demeaning, damaging, and ultimately counterproductive. And she will remain precisely what she has become, a walking headline for all the wrong reasons, until she learns to manage her emotions, respect her teammates and staff, and concentrate on what really matters, winning. What are your thoughts? Did Stephen A. go too far in criticizing Angel Reese, or was it appropriate? If you would like to see more in-depth analyses of the most significant sports scandals, please let me know in the comment section below, and remember to smash the like button. We're covering every drama, every controversy, and every story that everyone else is scared to share, so make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on. I appreciate you viewing, and I hope to see you in the future one.